Alright, Scouts, so here's one of the requirements that holds most Scouts up from reaching first class. It is not a difficult requirement, but it is very time consuming. Plant identification. And here's the requirement. Identify or show evidence of at least 10 kinds of native plants found in your local area or campsite location. You may show evidence by identifying fallen leaves or fallen fruit that you find in the field or as part of a collection you have made, or by photographs you have.
Okay, here we go. I'm outside and I'm going to give you a virtual tour of my neighborhood to show you some of the plants that live here. Plant 1, grass. It grows all over the place. You've seen it, you know what it is. We know what it is. That's it, grass. Plant 1. Plant 2 is a sycamore tree. Sycamore trees can be tall. Their bark is patchy, sometimes has this camo look. Sometimes the patchiness is whiter than this. That's not always the color you'll see, but sycamore trees are tall and patchy. Their leaves look a lot like maple leaves, and they have they have smooth balls that fall from them in the fall. Those are their seed balls. Plant 3 is a cedar arborvitae. Arborvitae is literally Greek for tree of life. This tree can be identified by its lacy needles. The needles are actually very, very small and grouped together. This is an evergreen tree. It's called the cedar arborvitae because the leaves are rich in vitamins, and this can actually be boiled into a tea that will help fight off diseases such as scurvy. That's plant 3, cedar arborvitae. Plant 4, the sugar maple. You'll see these trees lined up along streets, especially up in the country. You may see very large ones planted along streets where they used to be convenient for gathering sugar or syrup. But this is a sugar maple. It's got the very classic maple leaf shape, and it grows those little helicopter seed pods that you're probably familiar with sticking on your nose. The way you can tell the difference between sugar maple and red maple, sugar maple has green stems and green seed pods, whereas red maple has red stems and red seed pods. Plant 5 is a white pine. Pine trees have long needles. You'll see a lot of other evergreen needled trees that have short needles, but pine trees have long needles. And the white pine has needles that grow in clusters of 5. There will be 5 needles per cluster. So pick up a cluster off the ground, count the needles, and there are 5 of them. That's the white pine, and that's their 5th tree, and they have 5 needles in a cluster. This is a spruce tree. Spruce trees again have needles, but they're short needles, and their branches tend to droop. You see a droopy tree like this, that tends to be a spruce tree. Let's go up close and look at the needles. They grow in a spiral around the branch. They don't come out in clusters. They come out one at a time, where pine needles come out in clusters. And if we grab one of those needles and try to roll it in our finger, it doesn't roll because it's flat. Spruce needles are flat and don't roll. This is a holly tree. Holly trees aren't really trees, they're bushes. They have a very distinct shaped leaf with these points on it. They're very sharp points. Holly trees sometimes have red berries. They're associated with Christmas. It's a holly tree. That's tree number 7. These bushes growing all along a wall are forsythias. You'll know the forsythia because they're covered with yellow flowers in the early spring. The rest of the year, they don't look like much. They just have these tiny petal-shaped leaves. But in the spring, they have very bright yellow flowers.
It's a very pretty tree. Number 9 is the rhododendron. You'll see these trees in the mountains when we're hiking. You'll see them in towns. They have thick, waxy, petal-shaped leaves. They're very thick and waxy. They're all over the mountains. They're all over towns. You can find them everywhere. They flower in June. They get beautiful white and pink flowers in June. And they're difficult to tell apart from the mountain laurel. Mountain laurels have smaller leaves. This is the rhododendron. Tree number 9. Guys, that is a fir tree. Fir trees are Christmas trees. They're needled trees, but if we take one of the needles, we can roll it. The needles actually have 4 sides each, and they'll roll between your fingers. They also are lighter in color than the spruce, and they have very faint little white lines on them. They come away from the twigs in a spiraling pattern all on their own, not like pine trees. They're short needles, not like pine, which have long needles. And if we look at this fir tree next to the spruce tree, you'll see the spruce tree is droopy, where the fir tree stands much more upright. All right, that wasn't very hard at all, was it? We found 10 different plants. Most of them were trees in a relatively short amount of time, just walking around the neighborhood here. I was able to make this video. Now I will go edit it and put it up for you. And that's what I want to see from you all. This nice video. Show me 10 different plants that you find around your neighborhood. You don't have to be crazy. If you give me some details, I'd like that. But I would like you to talk about how you identified each plant. Don't just tell me what the plant is, tell me how you identified it. Like rolling needles, clusters, the shapes of the leaves, the color of the bark, etc. All right, thanks. Good luck.